Hi guys, welcome back. It's LSP. It's currently the 20... No, it's not. It's the 17th. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? It's the 17th of July 2021. That's what I was going to say. Welcome back. I'm going to be doing some analysis on Bitcoin and CHSB as usual. So we'll get stuck in. With Bitcoin, obviously, we'll start with the obvious. It's going sideways, right? We know this. Nothing's changed. But we are seeing a little bit of pressure to the downside now. Now, the references that I made in the previous Bitcoin analysis, I was saying that this area over here is a little bit of liquidity, and price came to this, and it responded nicely. Okay, make a note of this, right? I don't want to sound condescending, so if I do, I apologize. But I'm just going to kind of go through some things and point some things out. Price came up, tapped this level, and then it slowly started to grind lower. Now, let's look at something very specific, and hopefully this will help in your understanding of what we're seeing and how intricate reading price can be sometimes. Look at the speed here. Yeah, so look at the speed here. Drop, small pause, drop. That's quite quick, as opposed to something like this drop here. It's kind of just dropping and dropping, but this was quite aggressive. Nice range. You know, it's not like grinding like this, or grinding or grinding or grinding. This was a nice drop, okay? Price goes up, okay, and it hits this level that I made a note of, all right, and it moves away from that. Then it grinds back up there again, and then it moves away from that, all right? So note the speed in which price moved away. And again, drop, 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 drop. Price grinds all the way back up, and it taps just the edge of this liquidity area, okay, and then starts to grind lower again, or drop lower and then grind and then drop lower. Okay, now why didn't price go higher like it did here? It went through this, and I'm talking about the green box, right? It went through the green box, and then it went through the green box again, and then this time it just tapped it and then moved away. The reason being is because this liquidity pool right here is gone. It's finished. That's not what it's doing. And to be fair, it's not the liquidity here. It's the imbalance that it cleared up when it hit it here, and then it hit it here. So when we see this, it's very important to make a note that we are looking at a different liquidity pool, which is this one. All right. So price has hit this one, and this is important now because there's nothing left here. Yeah. The next area of significance is going to be right here, all right? And I'm going to make this, I don't know, just that color. Ugh. No, I can't. I'm sorry. I can't deal with that. That is a rancid color. I just want to make it black. So this is the next area. So if price, or when price starts to grind higher, it's going to go straight through this. It's going to go straight through this because there's nothing there. It's going to reach for this. This is very, very important, and these are the things that we have to pay attention to. It may not be easy at first. You may not understand it at first, but as you start to become more experienced in reading price and understanding the way price is being delivered and what you're seeing on the chart, you can start to notice these things. And when you notice them, you will start to see the areas that are literally pulling price like a magnet, because price has got no choice but to go there. All right. So currently, I was saying in the previous analysis, sorry, not currently, but I was saying in the previous analysis, we had a little bit of liquidity here, which has been taken. Then price came up, and as it reached again, look what it did. It just went straight through that. And I was saying, if it gets through this and clears this up, the next area that it needs to go through is down here, and there's a lot for it to get through. Yeah, I believe my words were, there's a lot for it to get through. So it's not just going to go straight through that. And we can see price dipped a little, ran back up, nice reaction away from that. And let me just extend this box just in case it hit the low. No, it didn't. So let's clear this up now. Actually, we'll get rid of this because we don't need it. This liquidity pool is finished. This is the next area of significance, and even more importantly now, actually, there is a liquidity build-up right here, which is fantastic. It's just what we need. I'm going to say it. I'm going to go on record and say now, when price starts to reach these areas again at 34 to 35, it's going to accelerate into this level and scoop this up. Yeah, so it should pop into this level. All right, just make a note of that somewhere. So we've come down into this larger area of liquidity. Price is kind of, you know, accumulating down here. Doing a little bit of selling as well from whatever it picked up just here. This, I'm not going to go into actually what's in control because that's quite quite an advanced subject, and the video is going to be too long, and I want to get to the CHSB analysis. So currently we're sitting down here. Let's go over to the daily chart just to kind of get a feel for where we're at. And actually, before I do, let me just quickly say, you see these areas here. This was the first initial area that I made a reference to. That got cleaned out here, and now we're in this larger area down here. This is a primary liquidity pool, okay? This is why it's taking longer to get through. And then obviously we have the imbalance over here. Price gets above this into this. This should be the next draw on price, but we'll deal with that when the time comes. So if we go over to the daily chart, just to kind of get a feel, and you can see the selling pressure. What's interesting here, actually, is that price, we'll use the trend line, we see that price just tagged the high here. Okay, so it ran up and it tagged the high just there, and it ran very, very quickly away from that. So this was a false breakout. This was to get people going long, basically, and then they reverse it, go all the way down, and they take out anybody that put their stop down here and here. All gone, finished. Okay, and this is quite significant. So as price started to move away, it's quite a shallow run. It's not aggressive, it's not rangy, it's quite, you know, this is a very, very tight range for Bitcoin, actually, and things have slowed down dramatically. We know that this is because of the summer. We know it's because a lot of people are away. There is a lot of things going on in the world, you know, surrounding Bitcoin and some of the other, you know, cryptocurrencies and the crypto space in general. We hear this word, you know, winter, that gets thrown around a lot. But the reality is there's not a lot of people investing right now. And those that are, sorry, there's not a lot of people trading right now. Those who are invested are sitting back and they don't care. They're looking for accumulation points. And it's quite easy. Even if you're away on holiday or you're relaxing for, you know, the summer, you can just pick up your phone, do a quick, you know, 2 or 3 minute glance. Okay, yeah, no, that's fine, I'll wait. And then off you go back to whatever you were doing before. Whereas traders, we need to be here. We need to be watching the market. We need to be assessing everything that's happening on an intraday basis if we're looking for a trade for that week, for example. So traders notice the lack of volume, the lack of volatility more. Yeah. And in the crypto space, nobody's really trading that much. It has slowed down quite a lot for the summer months. We also have to factor in as well that not a lot of people have you know, the money that they used to have. So last year, any savings that people had when they went through the lockdown or multiple lockdowns, you know, around the world, you know, had to eat into their savings because their jobs were slowed down. Some people couldn't go to work. I know people who've lost their jobs. I know people who are unfortunately out of work now, still looking for work, you know, that didn't have the means, you know, to work at home. So they've had to dip into their savings. So the consciousness has shifted once again. Instead of thinking, I want to accumulate more Bitcoin, for example, they can't. They're like, well, I can't use that £1,000 or that £500 or that £2,000 because I need that to survive, you know. And I'm not going to go into what I believe, but I do believe it's deliberate. Unfortunately, that's just the way. That's just the world that we live in. Unfortunately, so we have to position ourselves as best we can. But there is a dry up. This is why the range is quite tight. It does feel like that there is, you know, quite a lot of selling pressure, but I wouldn't worry too much. If price, and I'll go over to the weekly for a second, if price continues to go, basically where it's going is here. There's absolutely no question in my mind whatsoever. This is where price is going, period, done. There's no exceptions. It has to go there because there's a huge imbalance there, and we'll do it like this. You know, I'm going to change this color to a red, so we know what we're doing. But if price starts to run quite aggressively, this is where it's going, 25,000. Then we're going to be dealing with sub-20s, which may very well happen on Bitcoin. I don't know when. We keep a track of the flows. I'm going to be paying attention to what's going on, and I'll update as and when, you know, things progress. But as a big picture, you know, until we get back above this point right here, okay, 36 to 37,000, and clear this liquidity pool, price is just going to either continue to grind sideways or slowly bleed to the downside, and then as it gets closer to this, it will accelerate into 25,000. I hope, you know, that's not too much information. You know, maybe you have to pause and go back and just kind of write these things down, but these are the things that I'm seeing, and we just kind of have to grind through it, see what happens, and be patient, you know. But things will start to pick up during sort of September, October time. I've said this before. We need to get August out of the way, and then we can kind of start to grind towards, you know, the latter part of the year as we go into the fall for the last quarter, and then we'll get a good 3 months, I think. But by the end of the year, I think the picture's going to look a lot different. All right, so I'll leave the chart on the 4 hour, which is becoming a wonderful time frame, you know, for us to be doing analysis on, and go over to CHSB. So CHSB, obviously I've spoken about CHSB quite a lot. There's been a lot of analysis done on this. I've been speaking about these areas for quite a long time. We'll extend these out because this one hasn't been hit yet. Okay, and if you can hear the music, that's just my next door neighbor who's got a really loud sound system in his car. So let me just bring this out to about here. All right, that's fine. And then we'll get rid of this in a second. But this area of imbalance basically got cleared up just there as it ran through. Now, make a conscious note and a mental note of the fact that it stopped after it did this. It didn't go through and then continue going for it. It achieved something. Yeah. If you think of price having to do something and then once it's done, then you'll notice the reaction afterwards. If you're not paying attention to that, then you just, you make assumptions, or you're not really learning anything in terms of what price is actually doing. But we can see price has been grinding lower, grinding lower, grinding lower. And we had that little pop here. I've explained this. I'm not going to go into this again. I did explain this in the Discord chat at great length, because somebody challenged me and said, you said this was good. It is very, very good. Yeah, because it changes the dynamic of everything that happens once price gets back to, back to 65. It's a constant step, and you have to adjust constantly. We are dealing with a map that's changing on a daily basis. Okay, depending on which liquidity pools are rated, which imbalances are plugged in, where price goes and how it goes there. It will depend on what the map looks like. That's just simple as it gets. And I'm not going to say an infinite amount of variables. But there are definitely multiple different ways in which price can unfold going forward, and our job is to adjust and use that information to just adjust and react. And this is why confirmation based trading and investing is so much better than anticipatory trading and investing. Anticipation only works, in my opinion, from my experience, when you're dealing with something like an ICO. CHSB is a great example. Swissborg is a fantastic example of this. We know when you're anticipating the growth of a company, you like the ideas and everything else, and you put some money into it in anticipation of that money growing over the years. As Swissborg grows, that's different. But when you're anticipating an entry, that's for me one of the most dangerous things that you can do when it comes to trading, because there's just too many variables for me. Too many variables. So price came down and then it stopped in this area. Very tight range. Okay, 51 to around about 54 or 55. It's a tight range. And if you just want to take the imbalance itself, you're talking top end of the imbalance 54 to the bottom end of the imbalance around about 53. 1 cent doesn't seem like a big deal. If you take the actual pool itself, it's a little bit lower. So we talk 52 to 54. It's a 2 cent range. It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. But it's been cleared up. It's finished. And I was saying, 48, that's the area. And price did, I can't really change this again. I know I keep saying this, guys, but 48, you see the low up here. Just look up here. The low of this candle, was 48. And I'll just clear something up quickly. Somebody said to me to change this to a different thing. It's calculated by TradingView. It really doesn't make a difference. In terms of the big picture and what I'm expecting on Swissborg, it makes no difference. You'll notice if I'm ever out, I'm out by a cent. Just like I said when I said that price was going to go to mid-70s, between 70 plus, I said mid-70s, and then I said 70 plus, and I made it very clear, 70 plus. And price, I think, cleared 69. Yeah. So there you go. Back up at the top where you see the low, 69. That I'm happy with that. If you maybe look at a different feed, you might see 71, you might see 70, you might see 68. I'm happy with this. I'm more than happy with this because it's cleared up some of the imbalance. There is a little bit left. This is why I've made a note of it further up. But I'm happy with that. 75 obviously is the key level. We need to, I'll say it like this, and I'll make a reference to this as well. There is a nice area of liquidity here. That came out horrible. Let me try again. There is an area here which is a nice liquidity build-up. Okay, so we're going to make a reference to that as well. So there's a nice area of liquidity up here. I really don't like the way that looks. Sorry, guys. But basically, there's an area of liquidity up here, which again, going back to the Bitcoin example, as price starts to go up there and it gets into this area, there will be a pop into this area. It's going to accelerate to 75. Make a note of that. Put it to one side. So when price does eventually get back to around these areas, you'll start to see the acceleration here, and you'll start to see the acceleration just about here. you know, around about sort of 68, and it will accelerate into this level because there's a big area of liquidity there and a massive imbalance that needs plugging. Now going forward on CHSB, just go up to the higher time frame for a second, daily, and I'm going to clear these out now. They are relevant, but we'll deal with those if and when price does come down. This can be taken off now, that's finished. This can be taken off now, that's finished, so we can kind of see. Now I'm going to have to zoom right in because this tail is messing everything up, so if I just do that. So right now, price is currently, I'm going to draw the significant, oh sorry guys, I'm going to draw the significant one, so we'll do it like this instead. And you can actually see there was the first initial reaction. So we're sitting in a primary liquidity pool. It is a little bit lower. It's actually there, but I've opted to draw the full range because when we do the analysis, when we look back, you know, as price starts to grind higher, we will be able to look back and say, okay, now I know where within this liquidity pool price picked up and started to deal that off. So it's about being able to find later which pool is in control of the leg up. Yeah, when we know that, it just makes things so much easier going forward when the time comes, and we'll address that when the time comes. Again, make a note of it. You can question me if you want to come to the smart chat and I'll explain that, but just in the, you know, in the interest of keeping this video a little bit shorter than, you know, I mean, it's been going on for quite some time. I want to get it posted, but we can always address it in the smart talk, no problem. So right now we've had a nice grind. It did accelerate a little bit, and you can see the reaction here. Again, the market is slow. Things are kind of just grinding through these summer months, but we have to be patient. Weekly wise, I mean, down in the 20s, I've already said this before. I'm not expecting price to come down there, but if it will need to come down there, we'll see it before it happens. I'll say it that way. But we're not seeing much on the weekly that's, you know, of any interest. There is a massive, this candle right here, the body of this candle is causing a lot of problems, and this is why we're getting a lot of this shit here. When price goes up, it bounces away. Price goes up, it bounces away. You know, so we've got two reaction points just here within this, the body of this candle. And this is where all the problem is on CHSB, as prices trying to grind up. Forget Bitcoin and the correlation and all of this stuff in the crypto space. Just put all of that to one side because it's irrelevant, trust me. The body of this candle right here is the problem. There are liquidity pools and imbalances here, right, that it's plugging and then it's moving away from. Okay, so that tells me that price needed to come lower to do some more work, to accumulate more, to plug in balances, to figure out what it needs to do, objective fulfillment, and then as price starts to go up, it shouldn't be that much of a problem because there's liquidity build up here now, and there's a couple of points that it's hit to plug whatever imbalances are within this. Now, I've already done the analysis on this and gone back into this weekly candle and broke it down all the way up to the top, bottom, you know, open, high, low, and close. So I already know why price has stopped there twice. Yeah, and this is why I'm saying this. But again, I don't want to go into it in this video because it's super long. The analysis has been done though, and this is why. So again, for future reference, when price starts to grind higher, okay, and we start to map that idea going forward, it starts to make more sense that as price is going up, there is less for it to deal with. And these are those two reaction points, okay? So remember that. Going forward again, make a note. And again, as price starts to grind higher, if and when, I will, you know, come back on and I'll go through the analysis and I'll explain, you know, a lot of different things. But I'm trying now to put in the videos the things that I know are going to be or could potentially be addressed in the future as price starts to go up, so we can reference back and say, look, I did say this, I did say, not for arrogance sake, but, you know, for education, to say, guys, remember when I said this, this is why, and things will click a little bit better because you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember now, he was saying that this liquidity pool was in control and now price is moving away. The reaction from that is this, and that's why it did that. And it all starts to come together. So again, going forward with CHSB, not too worried about price itself, to be honest. I know there's a lot of people that are wanting price to go higher so they can start to see a little bit of green, you know, on their portfolio. But I would be more than happy if price stays here, you know, for another, dare I say, a month, you know, because that just allows me personally to accumulate more CHSB at a price that I want. You know, if I don't get that opportunity, then that's fine. No problem. It's not the end of the world. But The longer it stays down here, I know there's somebody in the chat that mentioned today just another 8 days, I believe he said. You know, let's hope. I mean, let's hope price stays down here, you know, so this person can get paid, get his wages, and put a little bit more money into, you know, into CHSB at these wonderfully low prices. Okay. So in terms of 48, that's been plugged now, going lower. There is a little bit of liquidity here, in this area here, and this area here. You can see that this block right here was traded into just here. So this is the area of interest now, this one. Okay, so we may see a little bit of a dip into the 47. Again, we're dealing with fractions here, guys. We're dealing with such small numbers that they're almost irrelevant. Okay, there's a point where it becomes so anal and silly, you know, that it has absolutely no value, you know, in terms of analysis and going forward. But I point this stuff out because it's within my nature to do, you know, this type of analysis. I love it, you know, and I like to find, you know, if I can, the absolute, you know, cent or half a cent, you know, if I can sometimes, of where price should stop. I've seen it, physically seen it. I've sat and watched, not just with CHSB, but with all the analysis that I've done, you know, as I started to understand what I was doing. And I like to see that reaction point, and I'm like, bang, I got it. Wicked, man. You know what I mean? And then I get excited that I was able to spot that point. So, again, just to reiterate, though, we're dealing with silly numbers, you know, very, very small fractional movements. They really don't make that much of a difference. But I expect a reaction from this point. But sometimes, and it's quite rare, but sometimes I've seen very explosive reactions away from these types of levels. So, you know, again, going forward, the two areas of interest for me are going to be above these highs just here, and this area right here is going to be the key focal point going forward on CHSB. Make a note of it, be ready for it as price starts to get near these areas. This area right here is absolutely key for CHSB, and I cannot wait for price to get there so we can start to see some magic, because at this point, that's when we should have shifted flows completely once all of this lower has been cleared up, and we shouldn't really be looking back after this point. All right, so with all of that said, guys, I hope everyone's having an awesome weekend. The weather's absolutely beautiful over here in the UK. It's just another wonderful weekend, guys. As always, you know, we do the Smart Talk on Thursdays. Me and Ben are always around, you know, in the Discord chat. I'm always open for questions, please. Anybody that has any questions, let me know. Do me a favor, if you want to ask me a question in the Wealth and Trading channel in the Discord server, right, for Swissborg, tag at LSP, yeah, so I see it, because sometimes the questions get lost in the in the chat, because there's a lot of people in there that chat, and obviously if somebody asks a question, it disappears, and I can't always go through hundreds of messages to find if anybody's asked me a question. You know, so make sure you always tag me within the question, and I do respond always, even if it's late. I will always respond. And with that said, like I mentioned earlier, we do the Smart Talks on Thursdays at 6:30 GMT time, where me and Ben, you know, talk about a whole host of different things. We do a lot of analysis, some education. You can pick up some of the previous Smart Talks, which we're in the process of re-recording or doing reruns for on Swissborg Nation's YouTube channel. So get yourself over there and subscribe to that channel. Lots of wicked information. If you're Spanish speaking, French speaking, you know, and so on, they do a lot of a lot of content over there in different languages. So that'll be good, you know, for anybody that speaks those languages, or it's like your native language. And that's it, guys. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to go and chill out for the rest of the day. Hope everyone's having an awesome one, and I will speak to you soon. Take care.